What we're about to do is vote on a bill that will have dramatic ramifications on the people that live in your district. It is going to drive up costs for them. I believe even the proponent who testified in support of the bill acknowledged that it would drive up costs. The changes that are supposedly being made here are not changes that address the concerns of the many opponents to 5412. And if you think that this trailer bill, 4600, that we have absolutely no confidence or at least no guarantees that it'll pass the House or be signed by the governor, but if you think the changes in 4600 will address the changes in 5412, 4600, the two big changes there are, it moves the threshold, or it sets a threshold of projects that are excluded from this at $20,000. If you remember 2 weeks ago in this body, we changed the threshold that townships have to bid projects at from $20,000 to $30,000 because, I'll quote the proponent, nothing costs $20,000 anymore. So we're setting thresholds here that we know are artificially low, and more concerning than the ins and outs of the costs of this bill and so forth is what it's doing to certain demographics and certain communities in this state. If you represent underserved areas, if you represent rural areas, if you represent majority and minority areas, this bill is going to cost your area jobs. This isn't the wage theft bill. This is the opportunity theft bill, because this takes opportunity away from small businesses, often minority-owned and minority-led businesses. And, you know, I'm on the Public Health Committee, and I'm on the Financial Institutions Committee. And I've listened since I was elected to the Senate in public health, and I've listened to the concerns of people that say there's certain demographics that are underserved. There are certain demographics that get lower quality health care. And you know what? They have the data and facts to back them up and support them. And those are issues that have to get addressed. I think we want the same solution there. Maybe we have a different feeling on how we get there, but we have the same solution. So I hear that in public health all the time. Then I sit as spokesman on financial institutions, and I hear how there's communities in our state that don't have access to capital. And I hear there's communities in our state that are underbanked. And I hear that there's people that live in the state that don't have access to the financial system that other parts of the state have access to. And you know what? They're right. And why don't some of these groups and some of these demographics and some of these communities have access to capital or have access to health care? Because we've crushed the number of small banks that exist. We've crushed the number of healthcare providers that exist, and we've given the power to the big guys. The number of financial institutions has shrunk dramatically, and when those number of financial institutions shrink, we take access away from the underserved areas. What are we doing with this bill? We're taking power away from your small contractors, we're taking power and opportunity away from small businesses, and we're giving it to the big guys. But don't worry, because in like 8 or 10 years, we're going to have a committee hearing in the state of Illinois. And the senators are going to hear that minority groups don't have access to low-cost construction services, and rural areas and minority groups don't have access to jobs in the construction field. And you know what? They're going to be right. And so in 8 or 10 years, we're going to create a task force to find out why these jobs disappeared from these areas. Just like we do in financial institutions, just like we do in public health. And it might be funny. It might be funny, but what that task force in a decade is going to find out is that opportunity disappeared because of legislation like this that consolidated the power from small businesses and underserved areas to the big businesses. And it took away opportunity, and it drove up costs. And you might be laughing up there, Senator, But the people that aren't laughing are the small businesses that are getting crushed. You might be laughing right now, but I sat in committee and I saw one of the most disgraceful things I've ever seen when we had a representative from a big, powerful organization sit there and say, this is going to help women. This is going to help women-owned businesses. This is going to help minorities. This is going to help minority-owned businesses. And the minority female sitting next to him, as he was saying this, was doing this. Was saying, no, it's not. But you know what? Sometimes in Springfield, we like to say one thing and do another. And what we're doing right here is we're crushing the people who need access to jobs, who need access to the service, and we're consolidating it with the big guys. So I'm not going to say vote yes or vote no. We all know what this does. If we know this bill, we know what it does. This isn't the wage theft bill. This is the opportunity theft bill, and it's taking away opportunity from the people that need it the most. I encourage you to vote your conscience.